Solutions in Texas could hold answers for Colorado.
Permanent supportive housing is how they exit folks out of their system.
What's next for Aurora as the city works to help people living on the streets?
No one city, no one county is going to be able to solve this on their own because homelessness knows no boundaries here.
One couple has seen the worst of RTD over the years.
I pray that something will change.
Now saying they have a new way to get around. How their surprise came about.
It really does mean to do good in this world, and some things good will come back to you.
The kids are not all right.
We hear from one expert about why more schools are struggling with behavioral issues.
If a child has missed years of that type of socialization, they just don't know how to do it.
Good evening, and thank you for watching Denver 7 News on Local 3. I'm Jessica Porter.
And I'm Amy Wattis. It's been 1 week since leaders from Aurora traveled to San Antonio on a fact-finding mission to understand how the city approaches homelessness.
Now, this trip came just a few weeks after leaders from Aurora, Denver, Adams, and Arapahoe counties went to Houston for the same reason. The focus of these meetings, finding insight of strategies for homeless resources, such as housing, addiction treatment programs, and access to job training. All of those areas having a major impact on Denver's $250+ million budget for the next year. We'll have more on that in just a moment.
Today, I spoke to leaders in Aurora about the takeaways from their latest trip to San Antonio and what this means for the Denver Metro.
First, a trip to Houston in September, then a trip to San Antonio last week. Now it's up to local leaders to decide what they want to do next when it comes to tackling homelessness in the Denver Metro.
I believe we can get there. I wouldn't be in politics if I didn't have hope.
Juan Marcano was one of Aurora's council members who made both trips, sharing these photos from San Antonio on Twitter. Leaders toured Haven for Hope, which Marcano describes as essentially a campus for around 1,500 homeless people that provides services like addiction help, mental health, and job training, whereas Houston utilizes existing housing while providing services. Marcano's biggest takeaway, the cost.
It's a different approach. San Antonio's ends up being much more expensive as a result since it requires a lot more infrastructure. So I think they spent over $100 million building out the campus, and then it costs around $25 million a year just to keep things moving. So it's really, really pricey compared to Houston's approach.
Which is why he feels like taking the Houston approach here in the Denver Metro is the way to go. On top of that, when it comes to reducing homelessness overall.
San Antonio's has only reduced by about 9% over the last decade, whilst Houston has reduced about 63%.
Councilman Dustin Zvonek organized the San Antonio trip. He says having a collaborative approach to addressing homelessness is key.
That would be an emergency shelter, right? Meeting people and their emergency needs and getting them in. Having a navigation center or case managers to help move people through the various services.
Stressing that there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach for everyone. Councilman Marcano says changes in the Metro won't happen overnight, but they're working to make it happen as soon as they can.
We need to lay that groundwork for regional collaboration now, because at the end of the day, regardless of what model we decide to use, we all need to be pushing in the same direction.
Councilman Marcano says Aurora has been invited to a City of Denver council meeting to discuss what they learned in San Antonio, something that will take place in the near future.
Going in depth on efforts around the Metro. Last month, the city of Denver released a draft of its 2023 plan to address homelessness. The ambitious plan includes $254 million to help with housing. That includes the creation of 1,700 affordable homes, more eviction and foreclosure protection, as well as navigation centers to help people living in encampments. The city is seeking input for their new plan. They'll host a virtual meeting on October 18th. Right now, there's a survey you can fill out, and we have that on Denver7.com.
Going further, a Denver program that will pay unhoused people up to $1,000 each month is now accepting applications. The Denver Basic Income Project gives varying amounts of cash to 820 homeless people or families in the city. The Colorado Coalition for Homeless will track how people use the money. $7 million was raised for the project, and the city is providing $2 million from the American Rescue Plan. The application process is open through November 3rd.
And Denver is also giving out grocery gift cards to help people feeling the crunch of rising costs. People who are under the 200% federal poverty level are eligible. You need to apply through the city's website. The city will also give out food boxes at 3 distribution events this month. Funding for these initiatives comes from the American Rescue Plan.
Reports of behavior and mental health issues in our schools have seen a dramatic increase following the pandemic.
Today, we learned that the statewide Safe to Tell reporting program for possible safety issues in schools saw an 89% increase in the month of September. Parents are also telling our school districts that their young kids are experiencing more conflicts in the classroom.
As Denver 7's Rob Harris shows us, mental health experts warn we will be seeing the effects of the pandemic for years to come.
As adults, we think that maybe children aren't aware of this, but children can be aware of this at a very primal and, an energy level.
Dr. Tiamo Kitsango-Piri is just one of several childhood psychologists who tell us the stresses of the pandemic and the world around us are having profound effects on our kids.
They understand that there's a level of stress in the family, there's a level of stress in the adults taking care of them. So all of these things, they won't know how to verbalize, and this is why we see them act out.
The impacts of the pandemic on our students' well-being are being intensely felt, not only here at home, but across the country. Check out these numbers from the National Center of Education Statistics. 87% of public schools reported negative impacts to students' socio-emotional development from the pandemic in the last school year. Nearly half reported rowdiness outside of the classroom and acts of disrespect toward teachers and staff. And more than half saw an increase in classroom disruptions caused by student behavior.
They might yell at their friends, they might, hurt or poke their friends or do these things that are, disruptive and just really acting out behaviors in order to communicate to the outside world what they're feeling on the inside.
Dr. Kitsango-Piri says our students have missed out on important life lessons and opportunities, especially our youngest kids, who weren't able to meet others their age and learn how to interact outside of their families. She says a good place to start now is showing patience and modeling some of those missed lessons for them.
Parents really can and should lead by example, maybe helping them brainstorm ways that they can cope with it, how they can take care of themselves, who they can talk to. When you have these big feelings, who do you think is a good person that you can talk to? And then helping them figure those things out together.
For Denver 7, I'm Rob Harris.
A lot to think about there. Now let's give some more context to the issues kids are facing. According to the CDC, between 2016 and 2019, nearly 6 million children were diagnosed with anxiety and nearly 3 million were diagnosed with depression. Since 2016, the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force has urged screening for depression in kids 12 and older. Now it's being recommended kids age 8 and older get screened for anxiety. Those recommendations apply to children who don't have a diagnosed mental health condition and who are not showing recognized symptoms of anxiety or depression. The task force says the screenings should help primary care doctors identify conditions early on so children and teens can get the care they need as soon as possible.
A police training program used by the Denver Police Department is expanding statewide thanks to a partnership with the Colorado Attorney General's office. It's called the Active Bystandership for Law Enforcement, or ABLE project. The program was developed by civil rights and law enforcement leaders at Georgetown University. It offers training and strategies to prevent misconduct, reduce officer mistakes, and promote health and wellness. DPD joined the program in 2020 and recently finished the first phase, which includes training all of its nearly 1,500 officers.
Brighton police are looking for 2 Good Samaritans who tried to intervene in a carjacking. Now, this happened Sunday afternoon in a parking lot along West Bromley Lane. Police say security video showed the man in red pants, you can see him right on your screen, attempting to stop the suspect and the driver of the black Jeep trying to follow the stolen vehicle. Eventually, the carjacking suspect was apprehended. Brighton police say they want to talk to the Good Samaritans and get witness statements from them.
Just 6 months ago, RTD announced changes to make commutes safer. The changes are in response to drug use and crime at Denver's Union Station and other RTD stations. In the meantime, some years-long RTD commuters who say they've witnessed crime on Denver's public transit recently got a new way to get around. Denver 7's CB Cotton reports they're still focused on advocating for change.
It's a 06 Saturn L300.
For Paul Wood, this compact 4-door car means safety.
We were using the 15 RTD. We have dealt with plenty of situations on the bus. Some frightening, some easygoing, some, very revealing episodes on the bus for sure.
Over the summer, Wood and his wife shared details of what happened in their 5 years commuting on RTD's Route 15. The couple's stop here at Colfax and Peoria in Aurora.
If it's not somebody doing drugs in the back of the bus, beer, alcohol, whatnot, someone's always starting fights.
After our story aired, a viewer stepped in to gift them this used car. Not too long after, the same route they shared concerns about was thrust into the spotlight once again.
You think that what else?
Earlier this month, Aurora officers shot and killed a man on an RTD Route 15 bus. Police say the man was armed with a knife. Moments before, they say the man had threatened people and robbed a corner store.
It's sad because it's kind of to the point where you're never really surprised.
Wood says the numbers don't shock him either. RTD data requested by Denver 7 shows from 2019 to 2021, RTD transit police were dispatched far more often for assault and weapons calls. As RTD moves forward with its latest plan to combat these issues, Wood plans to keep sharing his gratitude for a gifted set of wheels.
All in all, it saved us from having to get on the 15 again, that's for sure.
Hoping it'll bring positive change for others using public transit. CB Cotton, Denver 7.
Avs and Nuggets fans stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Colorado has some awesome fans for all our sports, and not being able to get two of the major ones that are just now starting, it bites.
The latest push from Altitude Sports for Comcast to end the blackout.
They want to watch their teams at home on their TV, and they haven't been able to do it for nearly 1,500 days.
Blustery conditions, but clearing skies tonight. More sunshine and mild days are ahead. I'll have your full forecast on the way.